Welcome back to Kiesel News, everybody. We have more news on the Peacock, Netflix, and Apple TV streaming bundle that was announced a couple days ago, and that the pricing is only going to be $15, man. I assume that this is US pricing, as Netflix here in Canada is like $20 a month, and I guarantee you that we wouldn't get this for that cheap. Regardless, though, this is still a phenomenal deal. Now, since the bundle is through Comcast/Xfinity, you may have to watch ads while doing this, but with Netflix putting in ads anyway, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You're still saving so much money. I believe it's like $95 overall, they said. So I'll take a few ads any day. Alright, next up, I feel the need to talk about the new recall feature in Windows 11. It basically acts as a permanent screen recorder, recording every single thing that you do on your PC and taking screenshots so that you can go back and review it later. Now, initially when I read this, I didn't understand the purpose, as if there's something that you want to record, you can just screen record using any other software you have. With Microsoft thankfully confirming that this feature will be optional, I don't understand why anyone would willingly enable it in this case. You're just setting yourself up to be exposed, as it'll take pictures of anything. Like, you can tell it to not take any pictures of certain things, and certain things will be like auto disabled, like it won't take pictures of private browsing sessions on Microsoft Edge, for example. But what if it takes snapshots of your bank account information when you're logging on? All in all, it just sounds like nothing but an inconvenience. Next up, Natasha Lyonne and Angel Manuel Soto are helping launch an AI filmmaking company. Now, Angel Manuel Soto is set to do a Transformers movie, and Natasha Lyonne was recently cast in Fantastic Four. I even covered that story. So, all in all, they're pretty big names. So, the fact that they're endorsing AI and contributing to its advancement is really disheartening. In the Deadline article, they talk about how they don't want to take away people's jobs or devalue the actual creators and just use like AI for generative purposes. But you're still opening the AI floodgates. I think every creative in the industry should be actively fully against AI. Otherwise, it'll send mixed messages to all the studios like, oh, they're okay with using AI now? Alright, then I guess we can fire them. The only extent I can allow filmmakers to use AI is if they use it for inspiration. Like okay, I want to make a parody of Woody eating a cheeseburger from Toy Story or some shit. I'll put that into the AI, and maybe it'll inspire me for how I want to make the video. But I shouldn't actually use the AI generated images at all, or try and claim ownership of them. And that's what this new company is still planning to do. They still want you to have ownership over the images that you're generating. Next up, apparently Marvel is gonna cast Taylor Swift as Blonde Phantom in the MCU. Now, I don't know who Blonde Phantom is, but she's apparently gonna get her own Disney Plus series. And interestingly, it's set in the 1950s. Now, first to address Taylor Swift being in the MCU, uh, I don't think she has time for it, man. The MCU needs to introduce major players that are going to be doing things for the multiverse saga, and I don't think Taylor Swift will be very committed to the role, just because she's so busy with all her other shit. But that's another question. Is this even gonna be in the MCU? Or is Taylor Swift only signing on if she gets, like, her own continuity, the fucking Taylor Swift Marvel continuity? Now, obviously not. But for real, how is this gonna be in the MCU if it's set in the 50s? Like, yeah, Captain Marvel went back to the 90s, and there was Eternals, which was covering basically millions of years, but they still linked back to the present. If Blonde Phantom linked back to the present, she'd probably be like fucking 70 years old, and then you wouldn't even be able to use Taylor Swift in the role anymore. Also, we see enough Taylor Swift in pop culture now, we don't need her in Marvel as well. Next up, we have some Pirates of the Caribbean news. We already knew that a reboot was in the works, but now we know that it's being written by the same writer as The Lion King. And I mean the live action remake, unfortunately. So, who knows what'll happen. With that and there being no Johnny Depp, I don't know, man. But I've never been a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan anyway. I think the more interesting part of the announcement is the second film, which is a spin-off starring Margot Robbie. Like, what the fuck? Margot Robbie is seriously in everything now. She's producing shit. She has fucking Barbie 2 soon, probably. This, probably a whole bunch of smaller projects. She should set up a system like Quentin Tarantino at this point, where every single one of her projects references each other. They have like little Easter eggs, because she's working on such a variety of projects. Nintendo has now fully acquired Shiver Entertainment, who have helped them port Mortal Kombat 1 and Hogwarts Legacy to Switch. So they're primarily a porting company. So this is very, very, very good for Nintendo, in my opinion. I mean, for one, maybe they'll actually be able to get fucking Persona 6, maybe even fucking GTA 6. Okay, that one might be a stretch. On the Switch, if they have a whole fucking side subsidiary that's dedicated to porting. I don't even know if Microsoft or Sony have that in their arsenal. Not to turn this into a console war thing, though, as PlayStation and Xbox have the more powerful consoles, so they don't necessarily need someone to help them port. But it's still good that Nintendo will now be able to catch up. What games would you like to see ported, guys? I think it'd be nice to get more shooters on the Switch. I'm not even really a fan of shooters, but it just covers such a huge demographic that I feel like having them on the Switch would open up a way larger player base. Like, imagine having Helldivers on the Switch. You'd have to pay for Switch Online, but hey, it'd be on there. For our last story today, slot machines in the UK are gonna allow debit cards now. What in the actual ass? We need that guy who sprinted away with the bill in court, because this is something that never should have passed absolutely anywhere. Now, after looking into it a bit more, apparently there will be spending limits on debit cards. So that's nice. That's actually really great. But if that begs the question, if they're willing to do this for debit cards, why aren't they willing to implement spending limits for regular cash as well? Like, have people monitor and say, hey bro, I think you've spent too much money today. Well, it's obviously because the casinos want to make their money. But why only put safeguards on one method of gambling and not all of them?